Hello friends and welcome back to the Dork side. I'm the Dork in the Road and today we're going to start adding farkles to the Norden 901. I'm the Dork in the Road and I want to be your internet riding buddy, so please consider subscribing. I have so many mods, farkles, functional sparkles, it's a word, I promise, to add to my new Norden 901 and I've been chomping at the bit to get started. Big shout out and thank you to our friends at motomachines.com who sent me all the Hepco and Becker stuff we're going to be putting on in this video. Go check out their website. They're the only place with crash bars for the Norden 901 right now that I'm aware of, and all of their other stuff looks really good and integrates really coolly, integrates really well and looks cool. You're going to see as we put it on, but go check out Moto Machines. They hooked us up with almost everything for this build, and stoked to be working with them again. We're going to start with the headlight guard because it seems like the easiest install and I think it's going to look awesome. Also, my neighbor's dog is mad about being in the backyard. I don't know, he's just yiping over there like someone's beating him up, but I promise no one is. Here's the headlight guard, and that goes on obviously, bam, right like that. And it's only 2 bolts, so we're going to slap this bad boy on first, and it should be pretty easy. So easy, even a dork can do it. We'll find out. So it is literally this screw right here. We're just going to take this out on both sides and then replace it with what they've given us in the package. Come on now, that was too easy. I don't like how loose that is. According to the instructions, these are omitted. So I'm just going to take that out and ditch it. It's the same on the other side, so I'm not going to put it in the video. You can figure it out, I think. God, bro, you're dying over there. Basically, it's washer, so it's bolt, washer, crunchy washer, aka lock washer, and then the spacer goes on the back side of the bracket. It goes like that, and you just put it in to the hole that's there. There we go. Okay, and I'm not going to tighten this side down until I get the other side on. It's a little bit easier with the other side in. Get this one started, theoretically, and get it in the hole. Screw it in. Get it where you want it before you tighten it down. More or less parallel, I would think, is ideal. I'm guessing this is a do not over tighten type deal, considering it doesn't feel like it's going in anything super substantial in there. Huh. Yeah, that's pretty sturdy. That's not going anywhere. I like the look a lot. One of the coolest things about these directions is they're mostly in German. You've got to like look for the English translation here at the bottom. Listen to the original plastic candle protection on the clamps, but lots of German. So it's kind of fun. I'm like learning a new language while I work on this. Anyway, handguards are next, and these are neat because you get to keep your plastic factory handguards and they go around them, see, like that, to protect them. So you've got actual protection. You retain the look of the originals and it mounts right up to the bar clamp. So these are specifically made for this bike. These are sturdy too, but not too heavy, which is good. So there won't be any bending or moving stuff around like I always have to do when I use generic ones on the other bikes. This should fit right there, theoretically, so let's give it a shot. Okay, this is a 6mm, and this part's a little tricky because there's an expansion clamp in there, the thing that holds the end of this on, like a lot of bar ends, so you can't unscrew this too far before you pull it out, but you do need to pop it loose first. That was pretty easy. Yeah, should come right out. Okay, so this has to come out, but you also have to loosen it over here, so I'm gonna do that real fast. So I'm just gonna loosen these up a little so I have a little play. It's a 10, nailed it. Just gonna buy myself a little wiggle room. That's actually enough. Okay, I'll just do it over here too while I'm thinking about it. We are keeping the plastic, so don't take them off. Just loosen it so this thing will move back and forth. Okay, now this has to come out. It's out, but not like all the way. This is gonna come off, so I gotta unscrew it on the back side once it's out of the bar, and then we're gonna replace it with a longer screw. So you don't keep this screw. You don't need that. So you don't need this screw or this washer. It says the countersunk washer, that's this, is omitted. So you've got 6 bolts with this kit, but there are only 2 long ones, so the long ones are what you're after. Now you put the bar end on, like this, into the hole, put this through the hole, and then put this stuff on the other side. Just get it started, don't go crazy tightening it, because you got to get it back in the hole, and then it's got to go back in the bar end. Am I going to break this and regret it? No. Okay, whew. Got it, okay. So you can see the spacer still right here, you need that. Yeah, and that goes down inside, V-bar because that'll expand and hold the bar end on. Okay, then we gotta do the other side now. These have to come off right here. So your bar clamps, great time to adjust your bars if you feel like you need to, and they're very adjustable. These are T40, yep. And these bolts come out and you don't need them. So you can take them all the way out and discard them. Or keep them in case you think you might go back to stock. Oh, that's loose. I don't like that at all. Okay, good to know. Check your bolts, people. Okay, these are your shorter bolts, the ones you have 4 of. And the only tricky thing here is the spacer goes underneath, like that, and then handguard, and then the bolt through with a washer on top. So I'm just gonna get it started and then get the other one in and started, because this is not obviously positioned where I want it. Poor dog's just getting murdered over there. It stresses me out, man. I don't like the sounds of an animal in distress. All right, second one, just starting it. This is your bar clamps too, so when you do tighten it, make sure you get it really tight. Okay, I'm gonna do this other end first. Keep in mind that this thing has to expand inside. That's what holds it together, so you really wanna push in on it while you tighten it down so it holds it in as it expands. So I'm gonna do that now before I go back and tighten the other side. Don't go crazy, but definitely want it tight. Okay, now I'm gonna tighten these down. And again, this is what's holding your handlebars on, so, you know, get them tight. Not crazy tight, but definitely tight. I don't know the torque spec, but it's probably, my guess is somewhere between tight and guten tight, which is German for 4 Ugga-Duggas. You just have to trust me. I learned that from a native German speaker. Okay, ooh, that's solid, that's slick. Check it out. I like the look a lot. Check it, that's sleek, I like it. And there's actually a gap too, so you got a little room for expansion. So I'm gonna tighten this plastic back down, get it mostly centered, which it looks like it pretty much is. The other side is exactly the same, so I will record it, but I'm not gonna bore you with my narration. Get it to guten tight. Okay. Solid, bro. Digging it. Look at how much better protected my Norden is. One more quick mod before we jump to the big project, which is the crash bars. This is just a little Hepco and Becker plate, and the front of the skid plate, of the stock skid plate, and many of the aftermarket skid plates has a big hole in it where it's for exhaust cooling, I assume, but all it does is fling all the crap off the front tire up onto your exhaust and inside your skid plate. So you can buy this. This just screws right on. I'm gonna put it on. It's gonna take me about 2 minutes. And this will block all that crap while still giving you airflow. So let's put this on. This one's very straightforward because it's just, there's these holes already. Literally behind this. And then you screw into it. You got 4 bolts, 4 washers. Pretty straightforward. Line it up. A little, you can see the silver part. Just get it started. I like that it just screws into itself. And like I said, these holes were already here. So just taking advantage of the factory setup. You may have to move the wheel a little to get to the bolts. Take your 3mm, tighten them each down. This is probably just an Ugga, not even an Ugga-Dugga. Not guten tight, not even goot. Just like goot. Solid, that'll help a lot. Keep that crap out of there. Crash bars. I got white, so they have white or yellow, they're out of the black ones. So I went with white because I don't really want Bumblebee yellow. And I figure if I really don't like the white, I can always plastic dip these black later, but I don't hate the look. It was pretty controversial when I posted a picture on Instagram. A lot of people were like, oh, I hate it. So I guess if you're a hater, then be a hater in the comments. But I'm gonna go with the white. I think it's gonna give it a unique look. And like I said, I can always pull them off and plastic dip them if I want to, or if these get messed up, which they will, because I'm gonna drop it. But let's put some crash bars on. These are the Hepco and Becker crash bars also, and they're beefy. They're the only ones that I know of that are out on the market right now for the Norden full crash bars. You can find some 790, 890 lowers that'll work, but this is the only set that goes up and wraps around the fairing that I've seen, and it's that fairing I'm concerned with. So let's get these on. First step in putting the crash bars on, the side covers here have to come off. These are T30 Torques. Lots of T30 Torques on this bike. And there's one here where it attaches to the skid plate. It's a 10mm on the back side. You're gonna have to hold it. It's a lot easier when you're not filming. So then there's two more on the front right here. Those have to come off too. Also T30s. These are a little bit longer, so remember that when you go to put them back in. And this thing just slides down and off. And the only thing to know is that there's this thing that is in a groove on the side here, and you just have to slide that down out of the groove. It is the same on the other side with one small exception, which I'll show you. This hose, can you see it? That's the exception I mentioned. It just pops out. Just gonna remember to pop it back in when you put this back on. You also have to remove this bolt right below the radiator. This little vent hole on the side of the bike. There's one of these on each side that comes out. That's a 6mm, same on both sides. There we go. Doesn't want to come out, dude. Supposedly you're not reusing any of these screws. They've given me hardware for everything, so we'll see. Okay, full disclosure, I'm confused because it says remove the side cover, but I don't see anywhere in the directions that you put it back on. So I'm just gonna keep going and hope that it becomes obvious when you do that, and or I figure out that I wasn't supposed to take the side cover off because, like I said, the directions are half in German. One more thing, but we're only gonna do these one at a time because I don't want the skid plate to pop off. These on the front have to come off too. So it's a little later, but I'm actually not sure where this bolt goes, but I know that this is the right hole, so I'm going to put this through here like this and put it in there and just see where it lines up. This one, can you see that? This one, right there. You make sure you look at the directions carefully because there's a lot of bolts and spacers and you want to make sure you're getting the right one. I had to like lay them all out and just make sure that I had the right number of each one, and then put that in there like that. I just have to get it started. Yeah, well, if it doesn't go in straight, don't force it. It's not easy. It doesn't feel like it's binding. It just feels like it's hard to tighten. Sorry, I know this isn't ideal lighting. It's much later, and I want to come out here and at least make some progress on this. And see, it still gives you access to your sight glass, which I like. So maybe that's why you wanted the covers off. It just makes me anxious putting stuff in the engine block and don't want to over tighten or cross thread anything, but that seems like it's on there. So that's the bracket on the right side. Okay, now the fun part. We get to actually put the bars on. So this top hole is the first one, according to the directions. You got a long aluminum spacer. There's two of these, and it fits perfectly in this hole that you took the old bolt out of. This is the smaller of the two black aluminum spacers, and then you have your second longest bolt and a washer. Silver spacer, black spacer, then the bolt hole here, then the washer, then the bolt. But you got to kind of position this, and it will kind of sit on its own if you let it. But this goes behind. Okay, that's started. Again, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm just going to get it started. Okay, so we're going through the front. Smaller bolts, there's a washer, and the flatter spacers. And again, you're just gonna have to go to your instructions to see which is which, but make sure you got the right ones. This is another reason we give ourselves a little wiggle room so that I can move this and get the spacers behind it, because that's what I have to do. Yeah, spacers go behind the bar. Spacers behind, it's important. Let's try the bottom before we get too excited. Again, just getting these started. I'm not tightening them down because we still have to get the top in, and then we're still gonna have to connect the two. And then we just have to bolt on the bottom. The bottom will bolt into our adapter plate. These holes should be pretty lined up, as you can see. Okay, these are actually quite simple. They're just your shortest, fatty Allen bolts. These are M8 by 20s and a washer. They should go right in the hole, theoretically. Okay, that one's going. Good sign. That's one side on, just not tightened down. But it's definitely on. That's something. We're halfway there. So far, so good. That is a bright white, but I don't hate it. Update on the side panel situation. I did not need to take this off. There's one bolt up underneath here that it might be in your way. So my advice to you is don't take off the side panels unless it's in your way, and then take it off. Because I just had a hell of a time getting a screw back in that was behind the crash bar. So if you do take it off, put everything back on before you slap the crash bar on. Okay, I'm gonna have to go handheld to show you this, but here's the adapter bracket for on the left side now. Very obvious hole in the frame right here. There's a very obvious hole in the engine block where the back of that goes to, but it's not super obvious where the other one goes until you kind of match it up, but there's another hole right here. It becomes obvious once you put this rear one in. For this side, you do need to take this side cover off because you can't get to the bolt up underneath without it. Just put it right back on as soon as you get this bracket on, because otherwise you won't be able to. Bracket goes right here, literally up against the contours of the engine, like that. So this has to come off to change your oil, sadly, because I have to do that about 400 miles. So I would recommend putting the rear one on first. So the rear is the shorter, so this is the M8 by 35, and there's a spacer, the shorter spacer goes behind it. Goes into the hole on the side of the engine. I would recommend just starting it, so it'll make it easier for you to find the other hole. Do not, put any pressure on these when you're starting them. I learned this the hard way. Let it find the threads and just go in. I would definitely do it by hand at first. And I'm not going to be able to show you the other side, but so you're just going to have to trust me. But it's the same deal. It's just a slightly longer bolt and a longer spacer. But since you left yourself so much slack because you didn't tighten down the other bolt yet, shouldn't be too hard to get it going. Probably not a great angle, I'm guessing. I can't really tell. But you see this little indentation here? Right on the bottom of the engine casing, and there's another one there. That's how you know you've got it lined up. Okay, now I'm gonna put this cover back on. So once the bar is on, you won't be able to put this back on. So put it back on now, even though the directions don't say that. Same drill as the other side. We're gonna start with the top, this hole here, halfway up the bike. There's an aluminum spacer that goes into the hole. And then this is the big black aluminum spacer. And there's a washer, and this is the longest bolt. So this isn't the same as the other side, so make sure you got the right bolts. Sort of sit on its own. We'll put this behind it. Okay, started. I think it's started. Again, don't tighten everything down. Yeah, just get it hanging there, and you're golden. Okay, next up is the front, and it is the same as the other side. It's your other two small spacers. Your other two bolts look exactly like the ones that were on the other side. And again, you just got to put the spacer behind. So leave yourself the wiggle room to do that. Should be plenty right now. Oh, look at that. There we go. Okay, started. Now the side. It's an M8 by 20 and a washer. It's pretty straightforward. This is beefy setup. Big, thick bolts, double bolted everywhere. Okay, that's it for that. We just have to do the front now. Sweet. The rest should be reasonably self-explanatory because that's all the parts you have left, but there's this cool adapter, plunger thing that goes in between. There we go. Bam, it's in there. Okay, that's a nice touch. And then your bolts go through, bottom to top, washers on both ends. Bolt, washer, just the little ones you have left. And on top is a washer and a nut. And it goes bottom to top, just like that. And that's a nylock nut, so it should hold itself. I'm gonna tighten these first and then work my way back, because this is the most critical alignment point, I feel like. Okay, lined up. I'm just gonna tighten everything down. All right, and we're going with, again, Guten tight on these. There are torque specs, and you can look them up, but I'm taking this off in 400 miles to change the oil, so I'm just gonna keep an eye on it. Good morning, it is the next day. I was up late putting mods on this bike last night, and I wanted to get you some daytime footage of everything kind of on the bike. So let me give you just a rundown of everything that's on the Norden as of right now, mods wise. And that will include some stuff other than what I put on earlier in the video. Obviously I have to have my giant loop Diablo tank bag, which I think fits great on the Norden. You can see I've just mounted it down here. Also got the DoubleTake mirrors. These are the adventure mirrors. I put these on every bike. You guys know that. I love these things. And then one of the coolest things up here is this is the Moto Pumps GPS mount, and you can see it's adjustable, which means I can loosen this and angle it upward so that when I'm riding standing up, say out on a BDR or whatever, I'll be able to see that GPS while standing without having to sit back down. So I'm pretty excited about that. That's a great setup for Moto Pumps. And obviously I'll link everything for you in the description. This is my Garmin Zumo XT, and it's wired into the factory wiring, which comes on the Norden. of course, the Hepco and Becker handguards that we just added, which I think are sweet because, again, you don't have to give up the factory look, but you got some serious protection. The Hepco and Becker headlight and auxiliary light guard, which is a slick, easy install. I was very happy with that. And the piece de resistance, of course, the Hepco and Becker white crash bars. I posted pictures of the crash bars last night. It's interesting reactions. You guys have very strong feelings about crash bar colors, but I don't really care about colors. I care about protection, and, you know, I don't hate it, so it's all good in my book. And the Tusk Sidestand Foot Enlarger, which works pretty well. You just have to bend it a little to make it fit perfectly. I'd like to get a skid plate upgrade. I actually have a Tusk skid plate that they sent me, but it doesn't work with the crash bars, so I got to rethink that. I got a seat concept seat coming for this one, which is awesome. I actually like the stock seat a lot, but you know, if you get a chance to get a seat concepts, you should go with it. So I'm eager to see if that makes it even better. I'm gonna get a quad lock setup on this with the charger, wireless charger, and vibration dampener and all that. Oh, and eventually pannier racks are gonna go on this bike. I've got some pannier racks coming from Happy Trails. And then a couple things I'd like to add. I don't really have planned yet, but I would like to add maybe eventually is better foot pegs and maybe a bar riser. And whatever else strikes my fancy. So what suggestions do you have? What mods does this thing need? But anyway, that is the first set of mods here on the Norden. I will put links to everything in the description for you. Big shout out and thank you to motomachines.com for sending me all this Hepco and Becker gear. Big shout out to Tusk and Rocky Mountain ATV for sending me stuff. And of course, Giant Loop for hooking me up with the tank bag. And Moto Pumps, who sent me the mount for the GPS. So thank you to Moto Pumps as well. But for now and as always, I just want to say thank you very much for watching. And please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Thank you.